itself, because defilements are adventitious or temporal. They do not have any long-standing existence, and the nature of mind is not defiled. Nature of mind is clear and pure, completely pure. Just like the nature of fire is heat, therefore the nature of mind is free of defilement. Defilements is only temporal, and therefore Buddha sees the complete purity, complete pure nature, intrinsic nature of the mind itself as it is. So it completely purifies, meaning the Dharma, teachings of the Dharma is such that it has a function of purifying the temporal defilements and any faults. Since defilements of faults themselves are temporal and themselves subject to change, therefore whatever defilements such as desire towards pleasant objects or aversion to those unpleasant objects, these are all temporal. They do not last long. With this in mind, that the teaching of Dharma, whoever understands it, is able to employ this realization, therefore not fall prey to defilements and make them last long. That they are able to make them even last shorter, because the nature of defilements are short-lived. So this is the meaning of the truth of cessation. The Bhagavan teaches the Dharma well. The Bhagavan here refers to the Buddha. The Buddha teaches the Dharma well, meaning any form of imparting the teaching is completely free of any faults in terms of the communication, the language, the words, the contents, and the manner in which it is actually delivered. All are free of any faults.
소소 대사가 롱박 내서 소소 얘기를 대해나 예마미 연다지 때나 신나요. 그런 해봐 놓기 무슨 통화예요. 배대긴도 손제 순 대바도 그런 그 무슨 통에 순 대바 인도 소소 손제 순비 랑가는 신대나 손제 순비 대때 단다대서 용도를 통도고요. 소소 무슨 통화예요. 그래서
it brings complete vision, refers to the Dharma taught by the Buddha. Whoever comes to possess the Dharma provides or obtains a vision, not a partial vision, but complete vision of nature of all things as they are. If a person explains to you, to a city or town that you have not gone to, but explains to you what that city is like and how to go about, when you actually travels there, you will know clearly what exactly that place is like. Here, the Buddha gives us the nature of all things, explains how all things arise and how all things can come to an end. One who is able to receive the teachings of the Dharma, obtains that complete vision. It's not a partial one. That knowledge, those who adheres to the words of the teachings of the Buddha and follows it, then exactly as the teaching gave, they will discover the truthfulness and validity of the teaching that they have received. What they will hear and what they see later do not contradict. That is the reason why the teachings of the Dharma, whoever is able to possess, obtains complete vision of nature of things as they are. It is free from sickness, meaning here sickness is also an analogy used for defilements. One who practices the Dharma, or Dharma itself, is deprived of any of the faults or suffering that usually is caused by sickness. When you're sick, it brings many gamut of suffering after suffering, problem after problem. Whereas one who is, the Dharma itself is free from such faults of sicknesses, because one is able to cure them all.
Pena tep kayeke pena maison tamra trivi tep so niamon chegio mo tam tap trivi tep so hedon chegio churu yena kayeke tonda so sem momba chegio temu chegio sonje ge chute so konga niamon ban jambar chegio resumbar just name pa.
When it says it is free from sickness, and there's nothing that makes you sick or ill or feel dirty, whereas any other subject matter of discussion that you may engage in, such as a conversation that one engages out of desire, on desirous material, such as on a pornographic material or prostitution, that is a conversation that is material dealing with the desire. It promotes defilements of desire and attachment. If one engages in the subject matter of discussion on war and politics, then it brings a lot of hatred and aversion. Whereas if you engage it in certain philosophical discussion which are heretical doctrine, that it actually promotes ignorance. So whereas the Dharma completely keeps you away from the possibility of catching up any of those sicknesses which can arise from wrong objects, wrong subjects of discussion. Whereas the Dharma, if you study or listen to, it is free from all such possibility of illness or faults that you can otherwise capture. Otherwise, you can catch the sicknesses by engaging in those discussions.
Du cheva me bas penange zum henta shilu ngoboina. Pembi tu se zoja yare. Sonje chute pembi tu se zoja yamari karu yana pengres penna tarvata toptana tane shilu shigmares. Tane sonje sum teso lungu chute so karu yana pentagres tu se zoja mas.
When it says that it is always timely, meaning it is never untimely, meaning there is no time that the dharma is not effective. Whereas if you take medicine or anything, there is a certain period the medicine will be effective. So there will be a period that will expire when the medicine will work. Then you might have to take other forms of medicine. The same medicine has never a chance of becoming effective remedy for all illnesses at all. Whereas dharma is always timely and always appropriate form of medication to dispel the kind of suffering that is generated by defilements.
Never debas penange sulumba ganda rogona biza gogurite yon samrabaji tegiyore pete no ye sonje chute ore tarba tenke tenje deva tenke de sonje chul ti insumba never debas.
It directs one to one further, meaning the Dharma directs us further to reach the actual stage of liberation. For instance, if you were to travel to a country, you need a visa, at least a permission to travel to that land. Now, when the Dharma does exactly, it directs us to reach the ultimate destination that anyone can possibly aspire to reach to. It is only bestowed upon by the illuminating, guiding torch of the Dharma. Therefore, Dharma directs and guides and makes beings to reach the ultimate destination.
De tona tanya was sonje chude tona rong tanda drubi longa tanya yeng tanda drubi longa tamba yinza tanda chambo yoris.
Seeing it fulfills one's purpose, meaning being able to discover and realize the Dharma fulfills one's purposes, meaning here one's purposes meaning not only one's own purposes but purposes of other sentient beings. Previously, one didn't have the equipment of bringing happiness for oneself. One didn't know how to. The causes were not created. So often one failed. As soon as one sees Dharma and realizes that one is able to create causes of one's own happiness, one is even able to influence others to create causes of happiness, not only a temporal one, but also ultimate one. Therefore, Dharma is, whoever sees and receives Dharma is completely fulfills one's and purposes of all other beings.
Tene sonje sumde neso hako tugre de yana sonje chu dobi chu ngobi demba don namje demba singe teso neso ngosa hako tugma res te sukhe gresana keba namje sana papi konza namje soso ronge sana yehi ji river shawa yinso to kawo yinso
Now it says that that dharma that we have spoken so highly of is not the teachings, the subject matter which discusses the true truth. The truth of cessation and truth path is not an easy subject that ordinary being can realize. We can try, but it is only a domain. The subject matter of the teachings of Dharma is only a domain for the wise and exalted beings to be able to realize. So the wise and intelligent and enlightened beings who are aspiring on the path will gain. The Dharma brings is discriminating insight, realization which they could not have possibly found from anywhere but the teachings of the Dharma. No matter how wise and exalted beings they are, they cannot become exalted without the teachings of Dharma. That's why Dharma brings discriminating insight for the wise, not for those lesser intelligence than the wise can realize truth of cessation and truth of path.
Jamnen deji sumbi chu nurwala lebar tembas sonje ki sumbi chu teso yeda wakari sana miyur chekhu rabade nurwala lebar temba tele ki chevares nurwa sana nyamon nuri tat temba tele sumbari pena yesu mendepa de dungar pongudu di jubon guyore dungar de tombo lele shware le nyamon shware nyamon danzin shware yenta sonje ke danzen to nyamon panduri taptemba resumba delegi chorwa res.
The Dharma that is taught by the Buddha Bhagavan is revealed properly in the Vinaya. Here it refers to that Vinaya by definition means proper method of subjugation, meaning a form of moral discipline that helps ourselves to subjugate. Meaning if you do not know how to tame your own mind, you find yourself doing the very things that you do not want. So one who is able to hear and understand the Dharma that is taught by the Buddha sets everybody, establish everyone on a method of subjugating themselves. And because subjugating themselves, meaning that one adopts a discipline which therefore helps them to create causes of happiness. In the past, people are finding these sufferings, not realizing they have been creating the causes thereof. They don't realize that their suffering are created by their own actions. Their actions are created by their own defilements. The defilements are exacerbated by grasping to self. Until one realizes the correlation between these four, no one will be able to learn how to properly subjugate themselves. So as soon as a person becomes possessor of the Dharma, they therefore set their feet on the path of Vinaya, a method of subjugating oneself by realizing selflessness and therefore slowly decreasing defilements and karma, and thus uprooting the causes of sufferings.
Rebu te meba chekuna ti ju tende meba chekuga. Rebu dunga te ti ju te nyamung ri. Te mai pi nyamung yata nyamung meba chana rebu meba chetuga. Te me pena dunga ten reda o yona kanchu rebu chika chapa isana. Tene redon kanchu meba machak pato dunga juni jan chaya mengen chak yari.
For instance, if in order to stop a fruit arising, one has to stop the cause or seed of that fruit, that which gave rise to its growth. So the cause of our suffering is our defilements and our own actions. So unless one is able to stop our own defilements and action, which are causes of our own unhappiness, we cannot possibly stop the sufferings. So only way the suffering could be stopped or reduced is only by subduing our own defilements and defilements. And that's why it is a method. Self-subjugation is the method. If our suffering were created by some evil beings or by God, then until God and evil beings cease to exist, our suffering will persist. So it will be a futile exercise for us to do anything. Since sufferings are created by our own defilements, therefore it is something we have control and we can do something about.
Ngebarin juwa zobi shonchu ton rora chepa su sonje le yanten yin yore jan tam che pon chi do yanten tam che zoba chi ta ti sonje yanten yin bo de tam bi chu ki she ki re chepa ngebarin juwa asana jan tam che le ngebarin jumbi Ponja Tamche Pombi Yante Temde Shigris. Zobi Shonju Sana Yante Tamche Zobi Shonju Deon Tambi Chundi Torchiba Insumber.
So the two next sentences, it is renunciation, it causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment, summarizes the two very distinctive qualities of the Buddha. These two distinctive qualities of the Buddha, Buddhahood is attained by practicing the Dharma which enable oneself to relinquish all faults. The word renunciation is to relinquish, to abandon and to get rid of. It teaches us how to get rid of the causes of suffering. Total, with strong sense of disgust, one has a renunciation from the faulty causes, and therefore one is able to get rid of. Unless one is able to get rid of the faults, there is no renunciation. Where the Dharma, who understand it, whoever understands Dharma will be able to develop renunciation, meaning decreasing the causes, the faults they themselves are aware of. And until the fault is eliminated, there is no way of actually accomplishing the qualities, because qualities will be hindered by the presence of the faults. When the faults are eliminated, then only qualities can set in. That's why it causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. You can only arrive at perfect enlightenment if there are no obstructive defilements or faults stopping your way. So that's why the two very distinctive qualities of the Buddha is relinquishing of all faults, accomplishing all qualities. And this achievement of these two are provided by the very teachings of the Dharma and by practicing it.
Methan by Majin Duba don'tembas Sonja Teba Cheshun Chu Insun Teso Metemba Yamaris, Jajitan, Metemba making Garwaya Mare, Duba don't embasana, Teba Chimbu Nondo, Teba maybe Chutes on do it. It
is without contradiction. It is pithy. This is referring to the whatever greater and lesser vehicle teachings the Buddha has given. There is no internal contradiction, though it may appear that way. The one who examines and understands it, there is no internal contradiction between the greater and lesser vehicle teachings. Likewise, even in the teachings of the greater vehicle, it is pithy, meaning it is not something that is excluded. Meaning the teachings of the lesser vehicle are not excluded. It is actually implicitly found within the teachings of the greater vehicle. So therefore the whole path is pithy, meaning it is so succinct that it actually carries all the teachings. So therefore the teaching is comprehensive and non-contradictory.
Temba yaba, temba san yiten yaba, yishe yaba, sonje chutela yishe shana.
When it says it is trustworthy, meaning the Dharma is so reliable, it will never let you down. It will be the one, the most reliable to entrust your faith into.
Luduk Sumbari Teton Dao Repena Ringo Lung Suna, Lunsa Maris on some Chuna, Lung Rogres, Petenogi. Don't be choosing a paintos and Maris son, never paint to yours.
The great Nagarjuna said that when a person is falling down a very steep slope of mountain, even if he says, I'm not falling, he's falling. Likewise, even if you think the Dharma is corruptible, or it still is incorruptible, it is incontrovertible. Even if your mind thinks on the contrary, it actually works incontrovertibly.
Jua Chepa, Jua San Roa Gitando in Shebari. Sonja Chudi said to do, didn't have a touching pen, Molopilam and the top sona. Da Kone Kondun Rovi, Better Legacy Cook Maris, Coron Revo Yam Rosa, Minyam Lega Siku Mare, Komaji Togubi Lega Siku Mare, Lega Samiario. Revo Top Sadu, and Kangar Jim Cook Maris, Jua Chepa.
It puts an end to the journey, meaning that the continuity of wandering round will be put an end. Until now, the continuity of migrating is ceaseless activities. As soon as one who comes in contact with the Dharma and practices it, it will stop that continue wandering about and reaches oneself to state of path of normal learning. Path of normal learning, as soon as one reaches that, there is no further progression to be made or further result to aspire to, because it is the final end. So the journey that one makes will become a meaningful journey that stops all further other journeys to come to a complete stop. All the three jewels are three jewels, but one which actually protects us from our sufferings is the precious gem of Dharma by practicing it.
And
this Dharma, that is the most important of three gems, has to practice by first listening or studying, then contemplating on its meanings, and finally meditating on them. It's said that if one were to study the meaning of one single verse or memorize or read and explains, there will be great amount of merit and benefit. It is said that, for instance, if one were to engage in the meritorious activities of making offerings to Buddha images that fills the whole universe, if one were to first actually commission the making of that many images that fills the universe, then continue to make the offerings, will be regarded as very meritorious, wouldn't it? But it is said that one who actually engages in the study of Dharma with the proper motivation, without unmistaken and uncorrupted meaning, whether one studies or explains to others, will be more meritorious than making offerings for so long period of time to so many images that fills the whole universe.
담비 추도라고 말해서 담비 추 되거든요. 제위 되는 가위 되는 나위 되는 제위 되는 그래서 공가 매바시 통근데 추리에서
The holy images, while are holy objects of reverence, but nevertheless cannot quite execute the function and the benefits of the holy Dharma. Holy Dharma, by practicing of which can come to function as to alleviate all suffering and their causes, sufferings of birth, old age, sickness and death, fears of all kinds, can be alleviated by the practicing of holy Dharma.
그런 성제의 추어돼서 얘는 뭐 내답시야 답이지. 저는 성제의 추 클럽중 챙게 염내 챙게 돼서요.
So, for this reason, it is important that we should all support so that the Dharma flourish, Dharma stay long, and that it reach further and further. And those who study, those who practice, we should assist them in any way so that their practice and study continues.
Penandi never sundu kanchu jetting dote 사진이나 되는 메기 루토버 단다야 버치 제버리스 되게 다르게 봐서 전부지가 안 오고요.
For instance, in the commentary of the recollecting the Sutra of the Triple Gem, is said that by merely listening to the teachings on the Sutra of recollecting the Triple Gem, one has made one's rebirth meaningful. and meaning that one has sown the seed to come in contact with such three exhaling precious gems.
Tene gana ni yante kyo ta teba chembu gana ne lebar kuba ribar kuba trombar kuba teba chembu gana se techen teme nyega doni techen kona riya sa yona nomba yonzole kona riya pra nombi gana kasa gana yandale cheba de papa yinza teba chembu gana ne yante ente tabo je zumba.
Now comes the third precious gem, the precious gem of Sangha. As for the Sangha of the great vehicle, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly. This refers to, I think, to the Sangha of the greater vehicle, Mahayana, but doesn't have to be exclusive. It could also refer to the Sangha in general, who uphold the Dharma, meaning they who enter, meaning first of all admit themselves into the path completely and properly.
Lebar kubasana Sutra sabasum himbare tombo lebar kubasana Sutra lava ganaba tesol Sutra lava yaba inza lebar kuba rejo karisana Sutra sundudu tene rondo yana nepile ka mejiba inza lebar kubas.
So when the word say they enter completely, but I think in the translation it should be they enter properly, meaning it refers to properly, meaning that they enter properly in training themselves into the higher training of morality. Those who are ordained in the path of the Dharma enter as a Sangha member. They have moral duty to adhere to the moral precepts of the what is called moral duties, and these moral precepts assist them to be of benefit to themselves and to others. They're able to exercise restraint from harming oneself, and they're able to exercise restraint from causing harm to other sentient beings. So meaning that as soon as they enter the door of the Holy Sangha, they enter properly to train themselves from harming others and oneself by adhering to the moral precepts.
River Cuba reads and I engaged Ricky Taber Cuba. There's something lava. Ganamates or something lava here is something lava Rivas Agoya. Things in the Mena, then Tarato Mutubayinsa, things in the Shaova, Obo, Tabi Shawayinsa, River Cuba.
So the next sentence, they enter insightfully, it refers to Sangha. The Holy Sangha enter the Dharma, general in particularly engage in the higher training of meditation, meditative concentration. By entering into training of meditative concentration, they are able to gain insight, meaning that in order to attain liberation, you cannot go without higher training of concentration meditation. So meditative concentration is indispensable for gaining realization and gaining insight through the practice. So that's why they engage in the second training, the higher training of meditative concentration, through which they gain insight.
Trombar Huvasana, Lava Kirab Lavasana, Dami to Kirab, Landon Gambari, Tele, Trombo Sequia de Tale Lunsuna, Taja Tale Luna, Chusone, Umal Dena, Trombo Sungi, Taja Tassan Ben, Dalsing, Yasana, a dog Tale Lumber, Led Jundeton, can't you make some Chevy Unsalon, Teni Maiba, Umilam. So the
third sentence, which says they enter straightforwardly, meaning they enter the path that is direct, or they enter the path that is direct. This refers to the higher training of wisdom. Higher training of wisdom by meditating on the practice of special insight meditation or vipassana meditation. By doing vipassana or special insight meditation, the wisdom providing meditative practices. It is called straightforward. It is called straightforward because it is uncrooked. It is uncrooked. Anybody who clings onto the existence of ego and self, it is crooked. It completely leads oneself to mistaken. Whereas one who does the practice of special insight meditation gains the realization of selflessness, that therefore corrects the crooked, makes it to straightforward and therefore direct. And that's why it is called, they enter straightforwardly. Because if one has a grasping to existence of self, then it becomes the extremes of eternalism. If one feels there is no law of cause and effect and existence of triple gem, then one falls into the extremes of nihilism. So by avoiding these both extremes and adhering to the path of middle way, one therefore is able to gain the higher training of wisdom by realizing by realizing the emptiness of self, by doing primarily the meditation of special insight.
Temper Hubasadu, number Sonjato, Temper Tickle Hamayanza, Dawa no Shefa Gonga, Temple, your resume.
The path of teachings of the Dharma will see the teachings of the Buddha, whether the view, conduct, and all the activities, all however differing it appears in form, they'll see them essentially the words of the Buddha people are adhering to. So they have the perception of all things being harmonious, not contradictory.
The Chamber Yavayanza, Tamuja Rosucho, Tamuja, since
the Sanghas are possessor of great many qualities and virtues, therefore they are worthy. They are worthy of others, show veneration physically by joining their palms as an expression of deeply felt devotion in the heart. Since they are worthy of making prostrations too, and it is worthy of receiving, therefore they are worthy of receiving prostration, since they are possessed of the qualities of the virtue.
Sanam ji parji hin, sanam ji parsana pansum soba, sanam pansum soba jaya hinsa, bena yugushaya de hinsa nungyen, sanam shaya hinsa chambu hinso.
The Sanghas, they are a field of glorious merit, meaning just as a person who seeks to cultivate from the field by sowing the seed, they need that field. So the Sangha is just like a field on basis of whom the ordinary beings can cultivate glorious merit, meaning merit meaning the best of all kinds of merit can possibly be cultivated in relation to dealing with the Sangha, the worthy objects of veneration.
Yan Yonsu Juan Chambo Selu Bena Sonja Chudon, Chu Nyan Singri Sam Debachene Pugon, Debbie Zesicri, Debbie Zed, Tegas Pechena, Niba Chambo Yes, or Sonja somebody. So
they are completely capable of receiving all gifts, meaning that those who are adhering to the precepts and receive the gifts, of course, are worthy of receiving. Since the offerings are made by those with the devotion and faith in the Holy Sangha and their representation, if those substances and material wealth offered to the Sangha out of faith were misused, it is one of the most heinous form of negative karma one can create.
Tene yanten lava somji yanten yogo yanken tene chur lobjon yamne shenge deso ke tene yandao pugun dezete peshe cheshogi yosumba.
It is said that those who are properly adhering to the precepts and following strictly according to the teachings and practices, they are worthy and permitted to receive such gifts from devotees.
Gana te yan su juan tempo yan ge yan sana ji pu gong ko yan pu ba te so ge Tesole nieba teso peche chenayo korone nieba go mares yonsu jonwa mi yandale pendu chambuchi gres dona sanam sosa yabo yinsumba.
The Sangha who completely adheres to the precepts and practices and teachings are not only capable of suitable to receive such gifts, but it will be a cause of great benefit to those who are making offerings. So therefore their worthiness of receiving offerings of others become cause of happiness, a cause of benefit for the recipient as well as those who give.
Jimmy Nes Churvas, Pena Kinkaya Oyanate, Savante Ubori, Pete Yendo, Ganante, Jamba Pusaki, Hinsa, Yabu Yinsumber, San Chambutova Hinsa.
That an object of generosity is just like a field is the place where one can sow the seed in order to reap a harvest. Likewise, the Sangha is the most appropriate object with which one can exercise the practice of generosity.
Kindu Yonsana, do say Kaduyina, do say Kindu, Kaduyina, Shepherd, Lumba Kawayina, Lumba Kindu Yon, Kaduyina, Kawayina, Ganante, Jimmy Nestor, Chambo Jene.
They are a great object of complete generosity, means the Sangha are an object of making offerings to wherever they are, whenever there are no unsuitable time or places or manner in which one can make the offering to Sangha. They all, whatever time or places, they are always objects, worthy object of making offerings to. Therefore, complete meaning, they are always suitable objects of making offerings to.
Then, Sonja saying the good night, then Shaja to a towel say here, that's all. Then, Gaza. Then Sonja Numadateri, Sonja Jetan, the Sonja Guzute, Sonja Jenemba, Guzute, Sonja Jenemba. Shaza Sonja Guzuto Chatentes on Jana, Sonja Yinsam, Movashe. Then Shan Savadon Chebapot and Sanam Saku.
We are told that to practice or accumulate merit in relation to this fully enlightened Buddha. The fully enlightened Buddha is one we are not able to see, but the very symbol of the Buddha is his images or stupas. By merely making offerings or paying homage and doing all virtuous conduct in presence of such holy objects, it is regarded as a very meritorious deed.
Sonja Nomate top good some good, some cheche good, and I guess Druvia Miranda over there, sending a pencil to her. Sheva Shema Yabo Torida. Then it Tarba Sonja Yemen by Yamari. Gonga non Tobja Yashu Mir Yahu de Sonja Yenter. Sonja never drove some good.
So the attainment of the Buddhahood is our primary objective. And of course there are various other things. There are four main objectives. People say for this life, for next life, and liberation and ultimate state of Buddhahood. These are the four types of objectives we can all have. But ultimate of all these four objectives is the Buddhahood. So therefore that is the best of all possible objectives. Therefore our aspiration to attain Buddhahood should be promoted.
Choosing the Chugomanda Sosu Joyokana, Sonja Sumbi Chuti, Hina, the Lung Chusek, he gave a drug good to Sansan Sono Shishuna, tell the Dog Chusek, or Res in Yuntan.
So, just in summary, the Dharma is mainly is what you do with yourself. If you understood a meaning of one verse taught by the Buddha and you understood literal meaning, then you have what is called scriptural Dharma. But what that scriptural Dharma is only intellectual knowledge, but that knowledge has to be utilized in form of virtues. So if you were to engage in a virtuous conduct, then that is the realization of Dharma, because you're realizing what you have to actualize that knowledge into action.
Choki Consul do Chuya, Chazatena, Yiga Chayadon, Loya, Lojong Shea, then Tower Kuyap Chuku, or Pena, Beglumballi and a chul, even Guyap Q, sorry over your. The Jalo Goli Gogi Mare, T2 Midegi Mare, Goli Gogi, Kamcha Chamboy, Tekanogi.
The symbol of Dharma that we show great respect to is the scriptures or books or texts in which the teachings of Dharma is contained. The letters, the words, the sentence, the whole chapters, and whole chapters and chapters make a book that which carries the Dharma. So therefore the very good tradition of showing reverence to Holy Scriptures should be carried out. In Tibet we have such a culture of showing respect to Holy Scriptures as the words of Buddha, neither walking over them or leaving them unattended on the floor, but instead keep them in elevated, respectful places. Such traditional practices of showing reverence to Holy Scriptures should be acculturated. As you become more familiar with the Dharma, you should learn to maintain that reverence shown to the symbol of the Dharma, of the preciousness of which quality we already realize.
Tene gana sengdana teba chambu jambi undu chenre zita teba memba ge kharibu tabula sayore. Tene tata ngeso pena rabjung te tapo. Teme rabjung mena chushen ge tsobateso gana ge konri. O tesale sosu gana no hyushe yandale yenguru hyuyado gana ge de peria teso sanam chambore zumba.
The Sangha, the word Sangha refers to, in the greater vehicle we refer to the exalted Sanghas, the Manjushri and the Bodhisattvas. In the lesser vehicle they refer to the exalted Sanghas, Shariputra and other disciples of the Buddha. In conventional terms, Sangha refers to those who have received ordination, either those who have received ordination, and on top of that those who community of practitioners, even not ordained ones, who actually assist and support the practice of Dharma, and all such communities of whether ordained or non-ordained practitioners of Dharma, we should assist their existence, we should promote and support their existence, whether by contributing material wealth or offering one's own services, so the furtherance of their existence, so the very continuation of such community who upholds the Dharma continues. This is our moral duty as one who knows the qualities of the Triple Gem. We know at this present moment in this world the teachings of the Buddha, where it has not spread in the past, these days we are seeing the beginning of spreading in those places. Places where Dharma has spread is promoting and increasing, and the furtherance of the teachings is taking place both in places where there were Dharma and even those places which didn't have Dharma. It is beginning to spread.
Europe
Of course, we know that Dharma is making its headway to spread in Europe. But I have become to notice and appreciate that Australians are not far behind, but actually ahead of showing such a reverence to Dharma.
Tati dachin ravate tena tata chu tenken mombo yushe teso ke tokurshe chu lobjung treba tegi gungi res.
The reason for this enthusiasm comes from many great activities of teachers residing in your land who are making the Dharma taught and known to many of you, and this is making these inspirational activities.
No chura secretary case he is mother and selling it. The lama chura is the lobzon ye nyamne chat some do yen shever he told then eng ke he chu tembal tension jibo Penangando Vagina, Chu Lobson to Sierra, gave me hit at didn't cover you to care. Didn't you bend that on Lasom, Chamboya Vayins attention to body, Chiso, Yavo Chende, Tanu Mutun and Lobson, Yaman, no rooms.
Of course, you have had the opportunity to befriend the translator here, who have some considerable experience in knowledge and practice, and so skill in knowledge of language in English probably helps even more. People like me, although have studied Dharma, is deprived of linguistic knowledge, so our ability to foster the benefit is that much limited. So whatever you have studied and practiced and shown enthusiasm in the Dharma in the past is very much a subject of rejoicing, and I also would like to request you to maintain that and promote further in the future.
Casual Kayaki Jordan Lagureche, because Jurmakina didn't Lagueva Jordan. There's a casual Jew Chukia, the Kavanu Papenduchi. Casual Magova Chukia at the Yavon.
It is difficult to teach through the means of a translator. Most translators, if they are not good at the act of translating, then they make up, and and that can happen. So, if the teaching, imparting of the Dharma can happen without having to use a medium of translator, it is even better.
Okay, yeah.
I'm very pleased that you are all keen to study Dharma.
Mm-hmm.